we're not done your team yet, Biz. Arizona, I mean, they were in the news quite a bit this week. Them in Ottawa, they had the wackiest game on Saturday. Just they made history, believe it or not. The Yotes were up 4-0. You turn around 10 minutes later, Ottawa's up 5-4. Then you turn around a few minutes later, Ottawa's up 8-5. Nick Schmaltz, he set a franchise record with 7 points in the game, 2 goals, 5 assists rather. He broke a record of 6 that 4 guys had held. It was the first 7+ point game since Sam Gagner 10 years ago had 8 points. And this is a wild one, Biz. The first team in NHL history to trail after taking a 4-goal lead and yet still win the game by 3+ goals. That's fucking crazy. They were up by 4 and then losing and went down. Then they end up winning by 3. So that's your Yotes, boy.
We saw the barn burner with Detroit and Toronto not too long ago, and this one lived up to the Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl expectations of the fact that 2 of the bottom feeders of the league were going at it. And I mean, Schmaltz was injured at the start of the season. He missed some time, came back. It took him a couple games to get his feet, but ever since, him and Clayton Keller have been lighting the lamp. And I don't know what somebody sent me, a couple people sent me videos of Avery chirping Clayton Keller. I mean, he's having quite the season. He's at a point per game, and so is Nick Schmaltz. So at the fact that we got a San Gaime type of performance and a guy who set a franchise record, that's a big deal for the Coyotes, going into the back half of the season. So as long as those guys are pumping it out with the contracts they have, I'm happy. And going back to Kells, man, I think he's got 23 goals, 28 assists right now for 51 points. How about that math, Whit? And
nice, dude, good job. Congrats. Didn't end in 8 though, so RA is twitching.
I'm like, yeah. Definitely
I'm more interested in one thing when it comes to the Coyotes, and shout out Clayton Keller, BU guy. I would have done anything to be a fly on the wall with Matthew Schneider and members of the Coyotes going at.
Oh, we're going to go right to the arena situation.
Going at how much of a disgrace next year and the next few years will be playing in ASU. It really is upsetting for a lot of guys. Apparently, there was one player just furious in there. Why don't you explain what happened, RA?
Absolutely. Another note with the Yotes players and staff, they had a meeting with the CEO, Xavier Gutierrez, and NHLPA Special Assistant Matthew Schneider was there as well. Elliot Friedman, a buddy of ours, he described the meeting as, quote, intense, end quote. And Schneider said, there aren't any good answers for the players in the short term. And the players asked, how did it come to this? It's just, they're wondering. I've been saying it for months now. Like, these are the guys I feel bad for. The guys on this fucking team who are getting treated like JV athletes and they're fucking playing in the NHL. And they don't even know if this arena is going to be there yet, or if they're going to be playing at this college yet, or if they're going to get sold. Everything is up in the air. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. It's like they're relegated, like I wrote in the outline. It's like they're relegated because it's almost impossible for them to be competitive. And, GM Bill Armstrong, he's a good guy, but he said to the fourth period, David Pagnotta, that their whole plan right now is to just take on contracts for draft picks. So they're not going to have anything going on for the next couple of years. So if you're playing on that team, you just kind of basically hoping you fucking get called up and get traded somewhere. And the NHL is so pot committed to it. It's like, it's a point of pride, I think, with Bettman or whoever one of the team there. Like they fucked it up when they sent it to Glendale. It should have never been in Glendale. They sent it there, and they sealed the fate then. And they're just pot committed at this point. They fucking have egg on their face, and they won't take it off. And it's just a brutal situation for these guys. I feel awful for them.
You know what my biggest fear is?
What, Biz? That you're going to get a call to play for them again?
You fucking asshole. No, my biggest fear is that for the first time in our organization's history, at least in Phoenix and Arizona, that we get the first overall pick.
And he says no.
And we get an Eli Manning type of situation. That's my biggest fear right now. And apparently a lot of the prospects and younger players who, agents are calling in saying like, this is too much of a shit show. Matthew Schneider had to represent some of the players because they wanted to be unnamed because, they didn't want it to come back to haunt them as far as maybe ownership and the general manager finding out. And I'm not saying that would ever happen, but that's the reason why you have a guy at the PA who's going to represent you on these calls. But I would say the biggest level for concern is the fact that there is no plan other than being at ASU. If you told me that they had the land locked up in Tempe and the build was starting in 4 to 6 months, I say this constantly. People are like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Well, not only am I the bagel boy and I don't know what's going on, I don't get this type of information, is throughout the entire time I've been involved with the organization, whether when I was playing or in the media side of it, is you hear about things are going to happen that don't usually transpire. So I put no stock into what I'm told from people about, yeah, this is going to happen. We're going to have like an LA Live type of situation. I can only be optimistic at the fact that it happens because I think that hockey can work in the desert. The market makes total sense with the growth in the market. You just need the rink in a solid location. I've told the story on the podcast before. Shane Doan went to the place in Scottsdale and they put the shovel in the ground and did the photo op. And then all of a sudden, Glendale, being one of the fastest growing cities at the time, not the type of place you want to put a rink, as we know from the Canada situation in Ottawa. Even when things aren't going great in a Canadian market, if you don't have the rink downtown or somewhere where there's tons of action, it will come back to bite you in the ass. They got the land for free. They built a beautiful facility that they thought was going to work because the football was going to work, where it's like they got 8 home games a year and they have a massive parking lot there because, well, you're in the middle of nowhere, and that works. Not 41 home games driving 45 minutes. You can't booze much because you then have to drive home, or you got to spend $150 on a fucking Uber. Yes, RA, completely agreed. Dumb decision from the beginning, and it's haunted this organization the minute they ended up building that rink out there.
And to get them, the part of it's the land for free and all the breaks on the money, and it's like any business. I watched that Boeing documentary, check that out on Netflix. It's like whenever somebody tries to cut corners to save money, it bites you in the ass later on. And that documentary is heartbreaking. You got to check it out. But I think one of the biggest issues, there's so many, is when you turn in and say Minnesota's in town to play ASU college hockey next year, Big Ten Network has it on, and you see it on TV, it's one thing. When you see your NHL team playing there next year and you see what that's going to look like on TV, that will be the worst part about it, because you can tell right away how small it is on TV, and that's going to be the major issue. So we've gone into this a million times, but I was very curious to kind of hear about Merrick and Elliott talking about the meeting that they had and how upset players are. And I guess Gutierrez did a great job in terms of like kind of understanding where they come from. And I almost think this goes more on Bettman than it does on him. And I feel bad for Bill Armstrong because he did a great job in St. Louis. He got the job, and this guy, he has no chance. I mean, not saying no chance to like be there. Like he should still be there for a while, but like talk about being stuck in a rock and a hard place. This isn't on him at all. It's just a brutal situation that the league has caused.
And to go to that point, when I wasn't criticizing him, I mean, that's the plan. If you're the GM, of course you're going to do that. You take on contracts and get draft picks and build for the future when that's your team. But when there's no, like, the future is what? Fucking Arizona State. If they don't get this arena, then what?
From my understanding, if they don't lock it up in the next year, RA, they're going to start looking to move the team elsewhere.
Right. And the thing is, like, if the NHL wanted to move them, they could make it happen in a day. They could reach out to business interest and they could make a sale happen in a fucking week if they wanted it in Houston or Kansas City. But the NHL, it's like, I think they think if it leaves Arizona, it makes them look bad. It's like, you can't look any worse than you do fucking at this stage of the game, because we know hockey works anywhere. Desert, Florida, fucking Tennessee. It don't matter, man. If you have it in a good spot, people come. And we saw it when the Coyotes first got there, when they were in Phoenix. Fans went all the time. The Glendale was the fucking debacle. So we beat this drum enough to death.